Hi guys, back in Benidorm after our first ever campervan trip. So how did it go? Well, we're already planning our next one, so what does that tell you? We had a fabulous few days, saw some beautiful places and learned a lot. Let's have a little look at where we went before I tell you some more about our short but very sweet first campervan experience. Just before I get into that, please click subscribe. It's completely free. It just means that you're following this channel. This is a different channel to our usual Benidorm videos. I'd love it if you subscribed on here too, if you want to follow our adventures around other parts of Spain. So if you watched our last video on here, you'll have seen that we're embarking on a new travel adventure this year involving campervan travels around Spain. This was our first trip, our first ever campervan experience. We rented a van from Oasis Campers for just a few days as a tester, and here's how it went. The first place we went to was an inland part of Murcia. We stopped off briefly just to see a friend, Sheila. Sheila does a lot of work on our Facebook group for us, and it was really great to see her, but it was just a very brief stop off. However, she did give us some very good tips of places to go in the area. On Sheila's recommendation, we headed to Cabo de Palos, find somewhere to park and stay for the night. And what a beautiful spot we found, right by the lighthouse and just a few metres from the beach. It was absolutely perfect for our first night in the van. Very quiet and stunning scenery. We took the dogs for some long walks, just enjoying the peace and quiet and taking it all in. The next day, after watching a beautiful sunrise from the lighthouse, which was just 2 minutes from where we'd parked the van, we had a drive through La Manga. And this strip of land that sticks out of the sea, it's always intrigued me. I've always wondered what it actually looked like, because on the map it looks really thin. It looks like maybe you'd be able to see the water from both sides, but it was much wider than I thought, and I wasn't that impressed with the area, to be honest. It kind of felt a bit abandoned. Where Cabo de Palos, felt like it was supposed to be quiet and peaceful all the time, La Manga looked like it was too quiet for the sort of place it was. It almost felt like it should have been busier and there should have been more open, if that makes sense. But I guess it's probably a very different place in the summer months. From La Manga, we were going to head to Cartagena for our second night, but we changed our minds at the last minute and went a little bit further down the coast to a place called La Ozahia. I think that's how you say it. I'd never even heard of this area, but the park up we'd found on the Park for Night app looked really, really nice, romantic, and it was Valentine's, so we went there instead, and really, really glad we did. It was gorgeous. We drove up through the mountains on this windy road, which was almost picture perfect for how you imagine campervan travel. And when we got through the mountains, it opened up to this stunning bay. Again, very, very quiet, which was just what we wanted. We took a long walk down the beach at sunset. We probably walked about 5k and maybe even a bit further. We could have kept going, but we decided to head back to the van before it got dark to get settled for our second night. The third day, we headed to Cartagena city. Have a look around there, and it was much bigger than I expected. We parked near the football stadium and walked into the old town area from there. Cartagena really, really surprised me. It's like the city centre has been built around ancient ruins. Amphitheatres and historic sites just pop over all over the place. And we fell upon some really, really pretty sites just by chance, really. A very interesting place I'd definitely like to return to with a bit more time to explore more. After Cartagena, we headed back towards Benidorm with one last night in the van, which we had to stay on a campervan site so we could fill everything up, recharge and empty the grey and black water before we returned the van on Friday morning. I much preferred staying off-grid than on a site, I've got to say. But we had to learn how to empty and refill and recharge everything, so it was the best option for us to go close to where we were dropping the van off again. We stayed at Camper 7 in El Campeo, and the people were really friendly there. I think they spotted we were first timers straight away, and they were really, really kind in helping us sort everything out and get our heads around it. But I did feel like I was sort of intruding. I think a lot of people on that site were staying for weeks or even months at a time, and us coming through for just one night, I did feel a little bit out of place. Both myself and Helen, we both said we much preferred parking in the remote places overnight. And then on Friday morning we returned the van, we picked up the car and we headed back home to Benidorm. I can't fault the company we got the van from. Oasis Campers, based in Muchamel, which is in between Benidorm and Alicante. Mercedes there, she gave us a full tour of the van before we set off. Everything worked perfectly while we were away. And it's the only company I've found in this area which not only allows dogs to travel with you, but doesn't charge a small fortune extra for furry friends. The van cost us €105 a day rental. Have to pay $750 deposit. I was really worried about that, having read some horror stories about other companies online. But the deposit was returned pretty much straight away after we returned the van. Mercedes just had a quick check over, make sure we'd not caused any damage, and within the same hour of us taking the van back, the deposit was back in the bank. So a very good company if you're looking to rent a van. Definitely have a look at Oasis Campers. I'll post the link in the video description. What did we learn on our short trip? We learned a lot, which was exactly what we wanted to do on this trip. It was a real test run to see if both Helen and I liked it and if the dogs liked it. Hulk and Bertie, they travelled okay for their first time, very well really. They didn't relax as much as they do in the car with us, but they definitely weren't distressed at all, which is great. That was one of the things which was really worrying us most. The biggest thing we learned is that van layout and design is absolutely key. There's so many options out there. It's a bit of a minefield looking and trying to decide which one's going to be right for you. So it's going to take us a while of trying out different vans. We're going to be renting a few over this year and see which style suits us best. This van, which we had, was on 2 levels, which wasn't ideal for the dogs. I think they'd have travelled better on the floor of the van. They like to sit next to each other, and because of the step up, that wasn't really possible. We had them on the sofa chair thing, clicked in with a seatbelt, and although they could see more up there, which they liked, it was a little bit wobbly, so they didn't quite relax completely on there. I definitely think we need to consider floor space on our next rental van and try out one that has it all on one level. We all slept really well in the van, no issues there. The dogs got themselves comfortable in no time in between journeys, and there was plenty of space for all 4 of us on the bed. No issues with the bathroom. It was compact and tight, you know, which is what you expect in a van. You haven't got much room to manoeuvre in there, but apart from that, all was fine. Another big thing we learned was not to be so ambitious with how many places to see in one trip. I think we tried to do too much this time, and although we really enjoyed it, there was a lot of driving and that tired me out quite a bit. Even though we passed some really interesting sites whilst driving, as well as the sites that we actually stopped at, I'd still prefer to do more sightseeing on foot. So next time we'll look at staying at least a couple of nights at each destination. Then there's less driving in between and there's more time to enjoy it. I don't mind driving at all, but there's a lot of motorways on this trip. I find motorways boring, and because it was my first time driving this size vehicle, I was really sort of super alert, really focused, and that level of concentration for long periods, it does tire you out, you know, and probably a bit my age getting to it as well, you know, playing its part in that. So that's something we'll plan better next time, less driving and more sightseeing. If any of you guys have got more tips for us, please let us know in the comments. I know a few of our viewers have campers and motorhomes, so any advice is welcome. And if any of you are in the Mazaron area, I'd love to hear from you about things to see around there. I think we're going to use Mazaron as our base when we do our next trip. Didn't do much vlogging on this trip, none at all really. We had so much going on, trying to vlog as well at the same time, it had just been too much. And we also had some issues keeping things charged. If it's just phones you've got on, that's fine, it's no problem. But when you add GoPros and gimbals into the mix, it's a lot to run off the van battery. So we'll definitely be investing in some more power banks and some spare GoPro batteries, and that'll help solve that issue. The next trip we will definitely do more travel vlog type videos with more depth and detail, rather than this kind of video diary summary, I guess you'd call this. Unless you like this, let me know in the comments. Perhaps we'll do a bit of both. I love photography, I absolutely love photography, so I'd love to incorporate that into these videos more. This channel is for you guys to enjoy at the end of the day, so let me know what style you prefer. Maybe a few live videos too when we find some particularly special scenic spots. I've still got footage from Budapest and from our last trip to London to edit up, so I'll get that done as soon as possible. And then we can all look forward to our next campervan trip together. I'm thinking possibly the end of April for that, but I'll let you guys know as soon as we get it booked. We're taking my mum to London for a few days in March for her birthday, and I've got close friends coming out here the first half of April. So I think end of April, yeah, it's a good shout for when we'll next be able to get a cheeky few days away. Thanks for watching, give us a thumbs up and click subscribe if you're enjoying this channel. As I say, this is a different channel to the Benidorm one. I'll see you all soon back on the Benidorm channel. We've got some good videos coming up over there too. Stay positive and stay safe.